You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Oh, and I've seen many searching for answers far and wide, but I know we're all searching for answers. Only you provide, 'cause you know just what we need before we say a word. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Because you are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. Oh, you are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us. Oh, it's love so undeniable. I can hardly speak. Peace so unexplainable. I can hardly think as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still as you call me. Deeper still into love. Love, love, you're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. never changing, you are perfect. Always been perfect, always been loving. Oh, oh, you are perfect. Oh, you're perfect in all of your ways. Oh, you are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are. Oh, you are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways.
Oh. What's up, who's on?
We were on the screen.
Oh, right. Third time lucky. The microphone is now definitely on, I think. Are we on? Right. Hello to anyone that is watching the live stream here on YouTube. So this is just something that we offer for anyone that's thinking about sacrament of confirmation this year. So it may be in addition to some of the things you're going to do in your local parishes, or in some cases it might be instead of doing something in your local parishes, I don't know. So it isn't really going to be like lots of information, not going to be like a classroom or teaching things. So we've got a few different guests coming in who are going to talk about like the sacrament and what it's meant to them in their life, and so hopefully that might help anyone that's watching this think about what the sacrament might mean for you and why it's important and what it can offer us as individuals. So that's our plan. And we've got two different people coming in. They can introduce themselves when they come in. But I imagine one of the things you might be wondering, what time we're finishing, which is a fair question. We'll definitely be finished before 6 o'clock. We're going to be finished maybe about 5 to 6 or so. So I think that's our plan. We won't overrun because we also want to have our tea, as I'm sure you do, or do your homework. So now we've got that out of the way, we should introduce ourselves. So hello, my name is Father Simon. I live and work here in Low House in St Helens with the Animate Youth Ministry team. So we work with the school you're at or different schools around the diocese. So it's good to be able to help facilitate, I don't really want to use that word, but whatever this is, to be part of this live stream. And also,
I'm Ellie. I am part of the Animate team. I also live and work here at Low House in St Helens.
And then behind the scenes, we have Lauren. Maybe can pick her up on the wide screen shot if she wants to say hello. So Lauren's doing all our tech, making sure the cameras are all working and such like. So you giving us a wave, Lauren?
Hello, everyone.
There you go. So that's Lauren in the background. And we have two other people who are going to be joining us very, very shortly. And they'll be talking about their own life experiences and things. Maybe there might be people joining late and stuff. Maybe so just for a couple of minutes while we get going. You might have seen this screen. With me and Ellie, we're trying to have a go. I don't know. You can put things in the chat, I think, if you want to. But it's only a little icebreaker, a little game, so it's not that important. Did you spot any Ellie? I struggled. I don't think this is a good picture at all.
It's quite a hard one, isn't it?
Mm.
Well, I think you've got the Lion King here.
Right.
Then there's Little Mermaid. It's a big one.
Right, okay, right.
I would say that's Iron Man.
Right, well, what's this then? There's another Iron here.
Oh.
Well, it could be Iron Man.
Iron Man
know.
2.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
American Pie.
Right.
Can you spot any?
I can see 4th of July, so I'm going to say that's Independence Day.
I'm going to say Pink Panther and Black Panther.
Right. And there you go. Well, you've got the panthers and the lion, so very animal based.
Yes.
Primarily. So, it's just put it on, because sometimes people join and think, oh, is this actually working or not? So we just thought I'd put the screen up just so you know, things are live, so it's just like a little bit of a game to play. Well, we've got 2 different sessions. We've got this one this Monday, we've got another one next Monday at the same time. We've got 4 different people across the 2. So 2 this week, 2 next week. And because we've got the 4 different people coming in, we thought we'd try and structure it around like the 4 elements of the diocesan confirmation programme. So the whole confirmation programme is called Liverpool Called. So this idea of being called to do things, being called as people, being called like into somewhere. So it's kind of a nice idea. Jesus called the apostles. We are called through our baptism to do things. That's the whole concept of being called. But then within that idea, there are 4 separate strands, if you like. There's called by name, called to serve, called to community, and call to action. And we thought that, as yesterday was Vocation Sunday, so all around the world, every Catholic church asked its people to think about like the nature of vocation, specifically maybe more like priest and religious life, but also the broader sense of vocation as well as what we're called to do. So we thought that lent itself a bit to like being called by name. That through baptism we're given our baptismal name, we're called by name. Just as Jesus called the 12 apostles, Peter, Andrew, James, John, called by name to do something. And then that's the second bit, called do something, called to action. We're not just called then sit on our sofa and do nothing with our lives, but we're called to actually do something with our lives after that. So we thought today, following on from like the Vocation Sunday, and vocations and what we do with our life, we focus on the call by name bit and the call to action bit. Maybe just to put that in like a little bit of context, do you have any kind of little mini activity for us, Ellie, to get us people thinking about like what we could be called to do?
Well, I think like in life, a lot of people can be called for like loads of different things, not just as in like vocation within the church, but like on like in the world as well. So I've got some like different jobs, different like job titles, and we want to see if you can say what gifts and what talents these individuals would need to do their profession. Starts easy, but then it gets a bit difficult. Some quite strange ones you might not really think of, to be honest. So this is your first one here.
So I think people can, if you're watching this live, if you want to put anything in the chat, you are very welcome. Lauren will give us some feedback if anyone does want to be involved and make it a little bit more interactive. So have a quick think. Are you a big football fan, Ellie?
Not at all.
Right, so would you know the gifts and talents you might need to be a footballer? Could you guess?
Oh, I think you need to be like committed, don't you? You need to work where you're like.
Oh, right,
you need
okay.
to
Committed from being like. So you can have all the skill in the world, but if you don't put the work in.
Yeah.
Right. Has anyone commented, Lauren? No, that's fair enough for you. I am more of a football fan. Well, I support Everton, so it's debatable if that is actually football or not. It's something that involves kicking a ball, but usually in the wrong direction. Or yesterday, kicking the people instead in the penalty area. So I suppose you probably have to have like a bit of speed. You can't just like be walking slow. Like endurance, yeah. Balance, kicking the ball with one foot, have to balance on the other foot. Like vision, awareness, you've got to know where people are, your own team and the opposition team, so you're not running into trouble.
I guess you need determination.
Yeah, you've got to be determined. I'm sure there's a lot more, really. I'm sure there's a huge amount more. But I suppose that's probably a bit easier, and I think even if you, as not a football fan, you've seen football, you know what it's about. You know maybe people who might struggle if they don't have certain gifts.
Certain things,
Yeah, so go on.
Well, I've got another one then. So, got an astronaut.
Oh.
I'd say this is probably a little bit more difficult because I actually don't know. I'm guessing you have to be good at science. You need to have your science skills about space and things like that.
Space and things like that.
Yeah, that's
I'm
why
guessing
I'm not
that's why
like,
you are not an astronaut.
not an astronaut.
Well, we can't be scared of heights.
That is true.
You have to be physically fit as well.
Yeah.
To be all the pressures on your body and everything. There'll be all kinds of difficulties being in space. I would imagine it won't be just for any old Tom, Dick, and Harry.
I suppose you have to be prepared to be away from your family for a long time as well, don't you?
And be able to live with other people in close quarters,
that
like
is
a community.
True.
So both you're away from your family, but living with other people in very close, quarters. But also, even though you're living with them, quite isolated as well, because you might be really, really close, but also you know that there's actually no one else around you for hundreds, thousands, I don't know, how many miles. Wow. Strong like mentally to be able to look down the earth and just see a little pinprick.
So
and that must play with your mind a little bit,
It's actually crazy to think about, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just like you can see like stars. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Anything in the chat, Lauren? Sorry. I don't really blame anyone, to be honest. I might just be sat there at home thinking, that's what I do. But, better thing to do than typing into a computer at 4:10. What's our? We have one more then, Ellie?
We have one more. This one's a bit of a strange one.
Right.
So it's a professional stander-in-liner person.
Professional stander-in-liner?
Yeah, you see, so like people can hire people to stand in line for like the latest iPhone or computer or different things like that.
I wonder what you get. I wonder what the wage is for that.
I don't know, but if it was cold, I don't like being in the cold.
So you have to be able to withstand cold? Is that your gift?
I think it is.
Right.
Patience.
Patience would be the main. I could not do this job at all. I hate queuing.
No.
I know it's a very British thing, and I will queue if I have to queue, because that is, what I have to do. I would hate doing it though. I would never actually volunteer to do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Don't even.
You have to be able to go into your own little world.
That's
a
true.
bit.
But also, you have to have like the right thing so you know what you want when you get to the front of the queue. So you need to be like.
I would hope if you just stand in a line and someone asks you to do that, you would have a basic
People
idea.
might get it wrong.
What they're going to do. Yeah.
Or what happens if they run out of the item that you want?
Well, that's not your fault. Well, maybe you should have got there early. It's like a kind of contract that the basis you get paid if you get the things. If you join the queue, so I don't know. Like time management might be important. I don't know. Well, I suppose. Do you want to go and see if our first guest is here, and I'll wrap things up. So Ellie's going to leave and go to our green room, which is also known as our kitchen, and just see if our first guest is here. But just while Ellie's going, the reason we just did that. Maybe just to put into context this idea about, like vocation, really, being called by name and being called to action. So like the classic example of vocation, called by name, call to action, is, the call of the 12 apostles, that they're all doing their own job, they've all got their own life, it's all going on around them, but then they see Jesus sees them, he calls them by name, so he says the name, so that's an important thing. It means that he's recognised them as individuals. He hasn't just said, like anyone who wants to, anyone out there, he actually says to, Peter, you are a fisher of men, come and I'll make you a fisher of men, come and follow me. So, he calls them by name, and so we're reminded as well that we are called by name. So it's a bit like the job, so the jobs there, the roles we were just talking about, the footballer, astronaut, we're called by name, so we're given a role, a task, if you like, to follow the Lord, to do what we can, but then also we put that into action. So it'd be no good if Jesus called those 12 apostles, and then he said, come follow me, and they went, no, it's alright, I'm alright here, thanks very much. They then have to do something with that call. Once they've been called by name, they then have to do something. And that is often the more difficult bit. I imagine anyone who's watching this will have been baptised. You have to be baptised before you get confirmed. So we've all, in a sense, been called by name. We all have our Christian name, we all have our baptismal name, we all have our name. But then to do something with that, on top of it, the call to action, that's quite often the more difficult bit, because sometimes the easier thing is to go, well, actually, no, my own life's going on here, I do this, I do that, I don't have time to get involved in that, I'd rather not do that, that seems a bit difficult, that seems a bit challenging, I don't know, doesn't seem like my cup of tea at all. That's the more difficult bit, maybe, to live out that call to action bit. So hopefully our two guests that we've got today will be able to speak a little bit about how they were called by name themselves to do the different jobs and different roles that they have in our society and in the church as well, and how they do then put that into action. And maybe there's some of the challenges they've had along the way, challenges they've had to put things into action, and maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, otherwise this has gone wrong if they don't say this, about how confirmation and the gifts of the Holy Spirit and the sacraments of the church have helped them put their faith into action around them. So that's our plan there. So I think we'll just wait for Ellie to bring up our first guest. I don't know whether to introduce him while we're waiting. What do you think, Lauren? Should I tell people who's coming in, or should we just leave it as a surprise?
Oh, you can maybe share, because Deacon Anthony is coming first, but he's going to speak more about being an actual deacon. But he is, in fact, a chaplain. That's his kind of title, his role. There's a picture of him here as a chaplain. I'll put that up on screen now.
Right.
This is Anthony Cave.
Yeah, so we've got first person that's going to be coming up now is Anthony Cave, is a chaplain at a school in Leyland, so Leyland St Mary's. So if you're watching this and you're from another part of the diocese, maybe you don't know where Leyland is. Leyland's like right up in the north bit of the diocese, kind of near where I'm from. The Lancashire bit of the diocese. So he's a school chaplain there. He's also a deacon. So a deacon's different to a priest, and hopefully he'll be able to explain what those differences and such like are. So either Ellie has gone very, very slowly down the stairs to the kitchen, or there is a delay getting Anthony, so now wondering where she might be. I hear noise. There's definitely noise on the corridor, so she's on the way somewhere. That is why Ellie could not be a professional footballer. I don't think she has the speed off the mark, Lauren, that you will need to be a professional footballer.
It is true.
Yeah. They're probably sauntering downstairs. But here we go. I see the door opening. Right. Come on in. We have introduced you already. So here he is. This is sit in the middle.
Sit in the middle.
Yeah. So this is the aforementioned Deacon Anthony Cave, chaplain Leyland St Mary's, and a deacon in the church. So that's all I've said. I've just been talking for quite a while you sauntered downstairs, Ellie. I'm assuming. I don't know why it took you that long. So I've spoken for quite a while. So do you want to take over now for a little while? Because I think people are sick of my voice.
Yeah. Well, do you want to say? Oh, we've introduced yourself, but do you want to say like your role in like the church and
tell us a bit
about yourself.
Who you are and a bit about yourself.
Okay, so a little bit about myself. So hello, I'm Anthony, and as Father Simon said, I am the chaplain to St Mary's Catholic High School in Leyland. I think I've been there now, about 11 years. I know, time flies when you're having fun. And obviously I'm married, I've got a wonderful wife, a fantastic daughter, and as Father Simon said, I'm also a deacon in the Catholic Church in my own parish back in Liverpool. So that's a little bit.
Well, Anthony was just saying that his daughter was on retreat with us today.
That might be where I recognise that.
There we go.
Yes.
We saw a picture. And did we get?
Oh, she'd made us. If don't
We
put the
alright,
picture.
okay. So
She
we
won't
found,
like the
we
picture.
found a picture of you with your family. I said, that girl looks familiar. So right there.
She would made me
Right,
the picture
right.
came on.
Well, I think that's a bit of a backstory there. But I said when I was waiting for Ellie to go with the speed of a sloth, but upstairs, that you are a deacon but not a priest. And you mentioned then, like, you're married with a family, which is generally something a priest can't do in most cases. So, other than that, do you want to try and explain, like, in case you didn't, like, I think Ellie's already told, like, we're talking this about, like, being called by name, and because yesterday was Vocation Sunday, like, the whole idea of it being called, as individuals do certain things in, like, the church, which is a vocation for everyone, not just a priest or a deacon or religious and things like that. But obviously, a priest and a deacon are specific roles. So, if anyone's watching this, go, well, why is he a deacon? Why is he a priest? How come he can get married and have a kid and the other fella can't? What else is going on? So, what's the difference? And a bit more maybe about being a deacon.
Okay, so a very basic explanation. So, there's two types of deacons. As you know, there's a transitional deacon and a permanent deacon, which I'm a permanent deacon. So a transitional deacon would be when a young man is journeying through seminary to become a priest, and you get ordained as deacon first, and then the year after you get ordained as priest. Whereas permanent deacon, it's usually a man in his 30s or onwards, would usually be married and maybe have a family, and after praying and making sure, speaking to the priest or other deacons and family members, if that journey he feels still called to become a deacon, he would go through a process to maybe speak with the bishop to get put on the first year throughout the diaconate, and then 3 more years of formation with prayers. So, and then you get ordained as a deacon.
So what can you do as a deacon? What are the roles?
It's got to be good.
Good. It's good at stuff, or just to be a good person.
A bit of both.
Right.
A bit of both. No. So as a deacon, you proclaim the gospel, but not only just reading the gospel at mass, but living it out in your life. And also, you can assist at mass and also officiate at baptisms, funerals, weddings, but also a lot of charity work as well. So you can be involved in the parish food bank, with CAFOD, or visiting the sick, or the housebound, or doing hospital visits of parishioners. So it's quite an involved journey, but quite a privileged journey as well. To be of service, really, to the community.
Well, why did you want to become a deacon and take that ministry in your life?
So obviously, when I was born, I didn't think about a deacon. From an early age, I always felt that I wanted to do something within the church, and I felt called by God to be of service, but I didn't really know anything other than being a priest or being a monk. And as I grew up, obviously, I met my girlfriend, my wife, and obviously you can't be a priest and be married in the Catholic Church. And I still felt called to be of service to God and his people. So being a chaplain to the high school, as I say, was a privileged position. But I still felt called, just to be of service, to do something for God. I felt called by the Holy Spirit to do something, to use the gifts that God's blessed me with. And I spoke with one of our deacons in the church, Deacon Jerry at the time, and a lovely man. And I spoke to him about this diaconate, didn't know anything about it. He spoke to us, had a cup of tea and a little chat, and informal chat, and gave me a book, and he said, read this, see if it's for you. It might not be for you, it might be for you. I was like, oh, do you have to read? So I had to read the book, and I thought, this is pretty good, this, But then I was like still debating, wasn't right for me at that time, still praying about it, and that call, to be of service, still to do something within the church. And it was like that niggle that won't go away. So I spoke to my other deacon, Deacon Jeff, and I was like, it's still not going away. Spoke to the parish priest, and he said, well, if it's been there for a long time, have you thought about being a deacon? So I went to a meeting, met the Archbishop, I think you were there, Father Simon, many years back. And there's a couple of other priests there, and that's when I thought, right, yeah, this does feel right. But obviously throughout the journey, you've got that time when you're praying, you're discerning whether it's right for you, whether God is calling you into the diaconate. So yeah, long journey, but well worth it.
So how long have you been a deacon for?
I know the spot there.
I don't know.
I think I've been a deacon now and it's going on to nearly 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really enjoyable, really enjoyable.
I think it's important just at this point, because obviously if people are watching this, they're probably on the whole in year 8 maybe. They're either watching it live now, or they might be watching it, a bit later on, because it's recorded. They can watch it in their own time on YouTube. So I think it's great to know more about the church and the different ministries of the church, about how being called, and maybe like as a grown man, or Ellie talking about what she does like as a grown woman. Go, all right, well that's fine. But if you're watching this in year 8, there's not really much point us talking about being a deacon or a priest or even a youth worker, because they can't do that. So maybe it's just like important to recognise that when we're talking about being a priest or a deacon, and talking about vocation, that I think that journey is important for like the year 8s, because we're not. The point of this isn't like for us to be sat here going, look how great we are. We've reached the top. You get confirmed. That's like where you are now. But like, look at us. That I think what we wanted to try and say a little bit is that life for everyone is this journey, and in order to get to wherever we're going, whether that's a priest, a deacon, a youth worker, whether it's married with children, any number of different roles, responsibilities, whoever's watching this, maybe you're watching parents, or people at home, there's all these twists and turns, and like confirmation is there along that journey to like help you. And I think one of the key things you said there, Anthony, I was listening, was if something feels right, and if something feels happy, like you feel happy about doing something, that is maybe a sign that we're living out our vocation. And that isn't about a vocation to the diaconate or priesthood. That's about if someone watching this in year 8 and they're thinking like your daughter was on the retreat day today, like a school might say, well, we're doing a retreat day, but it's an optional thing. Do you sign up? And you think, oh, maybe my mates aren't signed up, but actually I wouldn't mind doing that, and it brings you a kind of sense of, yeah, I'll have a go, maybe in a few years' time you could go on a pilgrimage to Lourdes, and you get, oh, do I do this, do I not? But actually, it brings you some joy. That's living out a vocation. Is that something you encounter in schools, maybe? Because you'd see this with like year 8s yourself, like who you work with and similar age young people.
And we're all called to do different things as well, and confirmation, as you said, Father Simon, it is a call, and it's a great opportunity to embrace your faith and live out your faith and celebrate your faith, really. And you're saying, yes, God, I am here to do your will, create in me the person that you're calling me to be. And as you rightly said, you never know what you're going to be when you're older. Some of you may be doctors, footballers. The world is a big place, and God is calling you to be you, and the gifts that He has blessed you with, no one else has got those gifts or talents, only you have, and He needs you to be you. And through the sacrament of confirmation, you're empowered with the beauty and the gifts and the fruit of the Holy Spirit to enable you to be that person now and in later on in life.
That's beautifully put in there. Important thing about confirmation. I'm going to put this slightly to the test now.
You never said nothing about this one.
Because the theory's all well and good. Anyone can say anyone can say that. But I'll be interested. Can you actually remember your own confirmation and anything maybe when you look back now, especially when you do look back, how maybe confirmation might help you maybe get to where you are, not as a deacon or as a chaplain or a man with a family, or just life in general. Because again, I think that might be useful. We'll take it from the theology of you get these gifts of the Spirit, but like how does that manifest itself in reality for someone like you? How's it?
You know what? Sadly, I do remember when I got confirmed.
Right.
Yeah, about 30 plus years ago. I know I don't look it.
No.
You can say so.
We were baptised baby, Anthony. Oh, surely not.
So yeah, gosh, going back many years, I remember the bishop being there. It was in my own little parish, and the family came with us, and it was a big step for us because prior to getting confirmed, when I was about 12, I fell out with my faith. just went away from the church completely. Went to my high school and I was speaking to Sister Mary Teresa, and she was an amazing religious sister, and she was telling me, have you ever thought about getting confirmed, because I was transferring from schools, and learned more about confirmation. And she said, why don't you start going back to church? I was like, oh, it's getting up early in the morning and blah blah blah. So I did, because you have to make the first step. And I thought, actually, I feel like I belong here. I felt belonging like a family within the church, and I carried on going to church for a while. And the time come when I could apply to get confirmed, so I've done the application form, got my sponsor, got all the bits and pieces that you need to get to be confirmed. And I do remember it was chucking it down. Yeah, I remember. I do have pictures, but I can't find them, Lauren. And I'm relieved about that now. They're not black and white, before you read to us. And it was a really joyful celebration. And the confirmation itself has really helped me, not just being a chaplain or a deacon or just an adult, but throughout my entire life, being a parent, being a husband, being a son, being a mate. You know, you need it in your life. It's after being confirmed, you do feel different within. You really do, and it's hard to put it into words other than it's a feel-good factor. It's a really good feel-good factor.
Can you remember what your confirmation saint name is?
Yes, no, I want to play it. It's David,
Okay.
Saint David, so Saint of Wales. So it was it's got a bit of a story behind this.
Oh, go on.
Always a story. So basically, my cousin David, he was into football. He had the posh car and into sport and everything. And he was the cool cousin kind of thing. And I thought, well, he's got a cool name. And Sister Mary Teresa again said, you've got to research your saint's name and make sure it is a saint. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And I found out the saint was pretty good, and I liked the background about Saint David. And so David is my confirmation name.
Oh, yes.
I
suppose that's it. Yeah, I mean, there's probably people watching this who, some maybe already have the confirmation name lined up, it might be like a family name or, parents have maybe helped or whatever it is, but there might be other people certainly going like, I know like this is, I know something about picking a name. When we visit schools, it's always one of the things, it's usually me that asks this question, what do you know about confirmation? And the first response is, oh, you get another name, don't you? You don't literally get another name, but you get like an additional name. So I think that's like an important thing, if you sat there watching this and you're not sure what this whole name business is all about, there's loads of different ways of thinking about what name that could be. It should be a saint's name or a virtue, like faith or charity, things like that. That can be, but like it could be based on like family connections, or maybe a saint that you like aspire to be like, or maybe a saint that has certain qualities that maybe you feel you don't have as much, and so you can kind of look at them and go, all right, well, maybe I want the courage of like St. Peter or something a bit more in my life. Maybe I feel like I want a bit more bravery, so I'll pick Peter because then I can kind of aspire to that as well. Or maybe someone who you maybe associate with a little bit, and you go, well, actually I'm a bit like that person, so I'll pick. Who was your Saint, Ellie?
St. Bridget.
Why did you pick Bridget?
Because at the time, I was in primary school when I made mine, so I was in so my mum was looking through the book with me, and it was like about art, and she had an art school, and I was into like art and animals then, so she was like, oh, this will be a really nice saint. But since then I've actually learned quite a bit, and actually she's like a very strong, independent woman, and I do aspire to be like her. You aspire, but you're not what? No. Oh. You want to be a strong, independent woman. You keep this fine. Yes.
Can you have a male if you're a female?
I think so.
So I could have had Peter.
Yeah.
I know that one of our students, hope she may be watching, has chosen John Paul.
Oh,
because she's very inspired by St. John Paul.
Right.
I won't go into too many details.
No, yeah,
embarrass her, but
yeah. I mean, that was quite good. moves on to my next question, because I think what might be as well interesting, we spoke about this general sense of like vocation and like how confirmation helps, but obviously you're in quite a privileged position in the sense of you see young people arrive at Leland St Mary's, they're in year 7, they haven't got confirmed, then they get confirmed in year 8, and then they've got year 9, 10, 11 ahead of them. Like, without, again, you know, we don't want to name names, not anything personal, but like, what opportunities maybe does confirmation offer to maybe young people as they get older? Have you seen examples maybe of how like the church or faith, and you know, we don't know what confirmation has done to an individual, so we can't say it's that in particular, but have you seen anything like in school you think, crikey, I remember you in year 7, I see you now in year 11, and all these things that are like, I don't, you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah. No, it's so many opportunities because of the fact that obviously you begin in year 7, you get confirmed in year 8, but as you journey throughout high school, you notice that being confirmed, it really helps you obviously focus on your GCSEs, your future career aspirations. A lot of people, after, particularly in year 11 now, one individual who was confirmed in year 8 said that through their confirmation they felt called to work in the mental health industry, you know, and because they realised that the gifts that the Holy Spirit has given her has helped her with the patience, understanding, the empathy, and she was really deep, and she said obviously with receiving the sacrament, the Holy Spirit guided her in her journey of life and faith, and she really feels that secure base with the Holy Spirit, which is a blessing.
That's amazing to
So,
hear.
Yeah. So I think that, I mean, suppose it just goes to show us this idea of being like called by name and then called to action. You know, well, you come upstairs, I said like the easy thing for anyone is to recognise, well, I've been called by name, that's fine. You know, I've got my baptismal name, great. I might even get confirmed, I get my confirmation name, absolutely great. But maybe sometimes the action bit, and you wonder, what's the point? You know, the bishop puts a bit of oil on my head, and, you know, I get a name, I go to church for an hour, and then it's done. And it's like, it isn't like some of the other sacraments where you can kind of see a change almost. Like, you're a deacon, well, before you were ordained a deacon, you couldn't proclaim the gospel at Mass, you couldn't do this, that, you couldn't marry people. Well, all of a sudden, the next day, you can do all those things. Well, confirmation is a bit different. Like, there isn't, it doesn't, but actually what you're saying there, it does suggest there's something like an interior change. It's like we call it grace in the church. That we have this grace within us that you can't see, you don't really know what that is, but it's just something within us maybe changes and develops and enhances like who we are, maybe. So I hope maybe people who are watching this kind of think, alright, well maybe I don't really know what I'm going to get from it, but maybe what you just said there, you know, well, you know, there are things I'm going to get from it, which I suppose, are you going to ask Anthony this one, Ellie? Because
Yes.
that's kind of more specific to you then in this case.
Yeah, so how has confirmation helped you within your ministry?
massively. Literally the prayer life really, and the knowing that Christ is with us, that the Holy Spirit is guiding us. It's you need that relationship, and confirmation helps you prepare, because life can be challenging. Life isn't easy whatsoever. Whether I'm sure you're a priest or a deacon or a youth minister or a retreat guide, you know that the life isn't easy, and through the sacrament of confirmation it really helps you in the good times, in the bad times, and as Father said, it's internal, it's within you, it's God's grace within you working through you, using the gifts that you've got and developing the ones that you've yet to receive. So massively.
Thank you.
I think it's maybe a nice message for, you know, everyone that's watching there. I think maybe if you're watching this and you get confirmed, maybe you expect this like road to Damascus that happened to like Saul or St. Paul, as it became like, you know, something like to happen, and obviously, you know, your angels singing around you and a light shining on, you know. Well, it'd be lovely if it does, but realistically it's unlikely that's going to happen. But that doesn't mean like the sacrament isn't efficacious, like it has an effect, you know, like it's there, you know, and as Anthony said there, you know, it helps him in his ministry, but also just his life, you know. So we said when we talk about vocation, not everyone is going to be a deacon, everyone's going to be a priest, but we all have a vocation, which is surely to be like the person who God is calling us, as it says here, called, God is calling us to be. And whether that's at the moment a son or a daughter, a family member with where you are, in the future it might be to get married, it might be to live a single life, it might be ordained ministry, whatever. Everyone's called to do different things, but confirmation is the thing that maybe helps us somehow within ourselves to be that person that God knows we can be, and whatever ministry that may turn out to be. So hopefully that's what people have taken on board with that. Do we have any questions? We should have said this actually. We forgot to say this. It's going to be a bit last minute now. But there is an opportunity if anyone wants to ask Deacon Anthony any questions in our chat. Please throw them in very quickly. We'll talk for a minute or so, just in case anyone rapidly puts something in. But we will have an opportunity with the next guest as well. So while they're speaking, the next guest, have a think if you want to ask that person any questions. I'm assuming nothing's come up, Lauren, because we forgot to mention that we're going to do a question and answer. Is there anything you want to ask while we're here, just in case anyone does want to put something, and we can give them a few seconds. Yeah, just in case anyone does want to ask something, and they're typing rapidly and furiously now, but just to give them a few seconds.
Just out of interest, what different things can a deacon do?
Than
a priest, yeah. So you can do marriages.
So it can do. So it may be the other way around, because as a priest, the priest can consecrate the bread and wine to make them into the body and blood of Jesus, whereas the deacon assists at mass, proclaims the gospel, kind of officiates at baptisms and weddings and funerals. But the deacon cannot listen to confession or the sacrament of the sick. So
you can't do sacraments with the sick?
No. So it's you can visit the sick and you can pray with them. And obviously,
you can give viaticum, can't you?
Yes.
So viaticum's Holy Communion, the last Holy Communion, or probably will be the last Holy Communion, like food for the journey. So you can give Holy Communion. So that is actually the last sacrament, like the oil theoretically is, and this is a bit complex for maybe year ends watching it. But if someone is like very, very seriously ill, then that is actually a responsibility of the deacon that could actually give the final sacrament to someone, just not the oil and stuff. So there you go.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm a bit lost without deacons in our churches. So. Well, I think, unless there's no more questions, maybe we should let Anthony escape, and get back. So, thanks very much to Deacon Anthony for coming. It was a bit of a trek. You've got Leyland and back home, and so on and so forth. Especially for like half an hour or so. But thanks very much. I'm sure people got a lot from that, and are interested to hear about deacons and like how it all fits into confirmation and things. So thank you very much to Anthony, and we shall see you again hopefully soon.
Definitely.
That's good. And you're going to take Anthony and bring the power next guest.
Yes.
Can you move quicker this time, please?
I'll try to.
Right,
Thank
you. I was running out of things to say, which is unlike me, but I did do. So, just while Ellie brings up our next guest, I'll hopefully let them introduce themselves this time rather than spoil the surprise. But I suppose just again, it's like just reminding ourselves what Deacon Anthony said there, and this whole idea about we were wary about asking a deacon or a priest even to come on and do these. Last year we did this. We had a priest in, because like you sometimes it's easy to get bogged down in this idea of like vocation or doing something for the church or doing something with our faith. You have to have this like certain role, almost like you have to be a priest or a deacon or a nun, a religious sister, a monk, a brother, whatever you want to call it. And I suppose when you have somebody in and they talk about being a deacon and they're assisting at mass and doing all these things, not many people would have that ministry, that calling. So no one's saying that is what like everyone should be doing. No one's saying confirmation is going to lead you in that path. That's not true in the slightest. It's highly unlikely that would happen. Out of thousands of people being confirmed this year, probably no one might even be a deacon or a priest in the future. I think the important bit is to say that confirmation helps guide us on the path to being the person that we could be. So without confirmation, we might struggle to get to being a priest or a deacon, but it can help us just on that journey. So that's why I want to do that. So we weren't like putting somebody up there on a pedestal. We're just going to talk about vocation in general. And as if by magic, we have our second guest. I managed to get away with speaking without introducing you, so this is new for everyone now. So once again, I've been speaking for a couple of minutes, Ellie. Everyone's probably bored of my voice. Yes. So do you want to take it away?
Yeah. Would you want to introduce yourself and where you're from and what you do in the diocese?
Yeah. Okay. So yes, I'm Pablo Guidi, and I'm the Catholic Social Action Coordinator for the Archdiocese, which in a nutshell means supporting churches and parishes with anything from food banks through to any environmental action that they're going to take, through to looking at the gospel and how that inspires us to act, as Jesus calls us to act. So, yeah.
But this wasn't your first role. You've done different things as well, haven't you? So what other things before the Archdiocese?
How did I know it? So well, as I guess you can tell, so Pablo Guidi. I was born in Argentina.
Oh.
Yeah. So I grew up in Argentina only very few years. My dad was from Argentina, and my mum was from London, and then we moved back to London, and I think from a very early age, I think there was always kind of social action going on in my house. Whether there was some march going on, that my dad was taking us along to as a family or something like that. Protesting about something. So from a very early age I had that sense of taking action about things, and it was a very faith-filled family, and that was kind of the link between what we need to stand up for, what Christ calls us to stand up for was there as well. So fast forward then, and I started my first work for any of those viewers out there who are interested in law. So it was immigration and refugee law was my first kind of area of work, and I worked in Toxteth in central Liverpool, working with refugees and asylum seekers, in terms of actually representing them in court. So that was a really exciting sort of time. But I think what really changed was when I did, you might call it an extended gap year. It was 2.5 years working with the St Patrick's Missionary Societies in Uganda with Sudanese refugees. And that was a kind of life-changing moment, and I realised actually I'm no good at law. I'm going to have to leave this law business and work with communities. So I came back to Liverpool and I worked with refugee communities, and I suppose that then led me to doing various other things that I now integrate in my work now as coordinating social action with organisations all over the Archdiocese. Share Knowsley, Asylum Link, viewers might have heard of Asylum Link down there. Our Warm Welcome is probably the nearest one to you. That's actually in St Helens here. Working with those groups and supporting them. Yeah.
Sounds very busy.
I think there's a few things I wouldn't mind picking up on.
I know, I was thinking that.
But I'm also, Lauren's just put this on the screen as well, so it might be good to try and answer this before we move on to some of the things. So Lauren came across your biography on Liverpool Archdiocese website, and as your dad used to be a Methodist minister, but you've now ended up in the Catholic Church. I suppose it kind of is a bit like all the background there, but is there any...
It's a funny situation. So born in Argentina, most people are Catholics, and yet somehow my family history was Methodist. A lot of the Methodism came from Wales originally, was taken across to Argentina, and in fact when my dad was born, although he was a Methodist, he grew up in the same neighbourhood as Pope Francis. So they would have met maybe, but they probably went to different churches. So, so I grew up a Methodist in Bristol, and my dad was a Methodist minister. And again, that really, what I talked about, that association with faith and social justice. And But there was a period then when I left the church, I had much more important things to be doing than going to church, and my faith definitely went on the back burner. And then as I rediscovered my faith again with working with the St Patrick's Missionary Society amongst other things, I, with my wife Claire, was attending Thomas More in Aigburth in Liverpool, and that's when I wanted to rejoin, really reconnect my faith, and that's when I decided to become a Catholic as an adult.
Right.
So there's maybe a different perspective to some of the viewers here. But something that I was, as people watching will be very aware themselves. It's that kind of conscious decision that you're taking, in confirmation. That kind of changed my life again in a different direction.
I wish I'd made some notes.
I know.
There's four or five different things. I was like, all right, I want to come back to that. I suppose one of the main things is we said this with Deacon Anthony, who was just I don't know if you saw him downstairs. He was leaving, you were arriving. That we get different people in to speak a little bit. It's great to get all the background, but what we don't want to do is, like, people who are watching this are generally going to be in year 8 or something like that. What we don't want this to be is like people at the front, adults, saying, oh, look how great I am, I've got this, I'm doing this. Like, I want to try and also put things, maybe what our experience is, what your experience is, into context that something like year 8 can understand a little bit about how faith, how confirmation, the church, all these different things can maybe help them in the stage that they're at. And so there were a few different things there. But maybe just to pick on where you've ended up then, you spoke about Catholic social action, social teaching, maybe helping the less fortunate, disadvantaged in our surroundings. Would it be fair to say then that maybe if you're in year 8 now watching this, like, confirmation could be something, if they think, well, there's inequalities, there's people, there's unfairness around the world, would it be fair to maybe say, like, confirmation, the church might be something that might help those young people in different ways, like from your experience, maybe even things that you're involved in that they might want to know more about themselves?
I think, there's lots of things that people are involved in, young people are involved in and can get involved in. I think one of the big ones at the moment, of course, is the environment, and there are many different ways that schools and young people are involved in that, and that we really need people to get involved, whether that's something along the lines of support, making sure that the school is actually doing its recycling, getting rid of its waste in the right way, food waste, but through to some really exciting stuff that we did, some conferences where a school would represent a particular country, as we've just seen in the UN conference, and they'd kind of debate on what they needed to do, and pitting Ethiopia against the United States, saying, well, actually, look, we're suffering here. So there's the Marshall Islands, which will be almost completely flooded because of the rising sea levels, and they're saying, well, what are you doing about this, UK? What are you doing about it too? If you're good at debating, if you've got that gift, which is what we're talking about, aren't we? Then that would be something. But I think those are the big news headlines. But I think the ones it's the day-to-day stuff that maybe is people might miss. It's caring for your grandma. When you know that she might be a bit lonely, just going and taking some time out to care for somebody. Or if you're interested in music, there's opportunities with the choir to go and visit people. Just looking out for people in your school community that maybe feel, you used the word marginalised or set aside. Who is it that actually is a bit on the edge, that could just do with a bit of sticking up for? So it doesn't always have to be the all singing, all dancing, get involved in something. It's just you beginning to lead your life and beginning to put into practice, or beginning to try and understand what those gifts that you've been given. I probably like you all here, it takes a lifetime to work that out. We've got our gifts and how best we can use them, and it's something that I continually reflect on. Where am I now? How can I best use the gifts that God has given me? So that's something that I think, I think the main thing is get on and do something. It's only through doing that you begin to realise what's happening.
Yeah, because we thought the structure of this, we thought that we'd have the different guests thinking about the different elements of the confirmation programme. Yours made more sense to be like a call to action, And like I said, it's all right to be called, as it says there. It's all right to be called by name, but then do something with that. And there's multiple opportunities knocking around. And you know, like when you speak about the environment, it's great because one of the gifts of the Holy Spirit is, you know, all wonder. That we can interpret that as we look out of the window and we see the world around us that we believe like God has given to us and created for us, and what are we doing with that? If we see it in awe and wonder, then it encourages us to act in a way that's responsible for that creation around us. You know, maybe without that gift that we get at confirmation, it becomes maybe a little bit more difficult. Not impossible by any stretch of the imagination, but it becomes a little bit more difficult to see where God is in that, and then how we interact with that. And like you say, it is a journey. Did you want to have a follow up, Ellie?
I think it's just interesting that you were saying that it doesn't have to be something so big. You don't have to be going out like campaigning. It was just literally helping like your nan or something at home. It's just being like tiny little actions that can make up something so significant, and using the gifts like we were on about with like we get through confirmation, we can use them as well as putting that into action, just like you were saying, Father Simon, using everything we've been given, and go out there and be driven in that way as well. But it's interesting because you also stated how you, when you're an adult, you came into the church, into the Catholic Church. So with that, how and when did you get confirmed, and how did you do like your different sacraments and all these, what was like the timeline type of thing?
Yeah. It's slightly different, I suppose, to maybe what some of the young people are going through. So I was through a whole series of preparation, you know, over the months, which will be familiar to young people preparing. But no, definitely really strong memories of the Easter Vigil. And what really struck me was the community coming together. There was a certain point at which they were asked to pray for me. So I didn't feel embarrassed, although I might have done if I thought about it more. I was at the front, and everybody prayed for me, and I just felt this amazing energy and presence of God in myself, but in everyone there, and really felt connecting with that community. So that sense of the Holy Spirit being really alive, really present. It was an amazing experience. So that was, as I say, that was at St Thomas More, which isn't there, unfortunately. It's not. It's gone now, but in Liverpool, and surrounded by my friends, family, and people that I didn't know necessarily, but that were part of my parish community. That I then stayed in. So I think that's something, we talked about, doing the action, and it's that sense of at the end of Mass when we're told to go out. I think that's always stayed with me as well. The fact that we're there, that's really important, that we're there as a community to celebrate Mass together. But then we're told to, almost kicked out of church. Get on and do good in my name. Get on and do something. And that's if nothing. That people take away from today is just get on and try something, just try it. Just do it.
I think I just want to come back. I think we've mentioned it a couple of times, but I think it's worth emphasising that point of like a journey. You got confirmed, you received into church, and maybe a bit later on than maybe people who are watching this in year 8. And again, and Ellie was just talking before you came. She was confirmed earlier. That was when it happened in the diocese at the time and things. But I think that reminded and just to throw my 2 pence worth in, I was confirmed as a baby, so you've got the whole range of ages here. But I think it just reminds us that our faith life, our faith isn't a faith journey. Maybe some people when they enter the church as an adult, they might call it a journey of faith. It might be sometimes what they call the training bit, the preparation bit. And I think maybe for people watching this in year 8, again, there's this side thing of what's confirmation doing to me? How is it helping? What's going to be the end result? We spoke a little bit about it with Anthony there, but surely, from what we've been saying there, anyone that's watching this would realise that it's there. This faith is there throughout our life, and it moves us in different ways at different times as well. You know, you started off in Argentina, your dad was the Methodist minister and all kinds of, but then all these different things change and it kind of brings you to where you are now. I don't know if that makes any kind of sense. So I think this, like, if you're watching, like, again, I think if you're watching this as a, you know, year 8, no one's saying confirmation is going to be, and it shouldn't be seen as the end goal. It shouldn't be, I've been confirmed, that's it, I can forget all about it now. Confirmation is maybe the thing that sends you out, like, gives you the courage to have the action somewhere, like, right, I now have these gifts of the Spirit, I have all wonder, I have all the gifts of the Spirit, maybe learned about in school, can I go out, I can put my faith into action in lots of different ways. So I think it's worth, you know, reminding people that, you know, we're not sat here at the front, like saying, you know, this is great, look at us, you know, it is this like journey for people who are in year 8 now, that confirmation helps them on that journey.
And I think there's something as well about actually that it's not unnecessarily a light bulb moment, a big sign moment that says actually this is it, ka-ching, here you are, you know, that actually, you know, you might be very nervous or you might be completely unsure about what it means to be called, you know, and I think that's how I felt, you know, I didn't really know, well, what is it? I had this wonderful sense of, you know, being on the journey and God going before me, but I wasn't entirely sure what that meant, and so then I think that's also that part is in actually starting to do stuff. Then you do begin to know, and it's, you know, you might make some mistakes and realise that, you know, God's called you to do something else. And but that's all part of that journey as well, isn't it? So I think that leads in nicely on the next question, Ellie. Does it? I think I would say.
So, like, how, as the social action coordinator for the diocese, how has being confirmed helped you in your role?
Yeah. I think there's now, but also certainly when I was working with asylum seekers and refugees, you know, and they're quite if anybody's interested in law or working with communities or any job really where you're just under a lot of pressure all the time, and we talk about the phrase, you know, seeing God in the other person, you know, I tried desperately to do that, and I always tried to see that in the other person, and I could certainly do it for the first person that I saw, and then just the busyness of life was difficult. But I think there was something about that, continually trying to see, no matter what situation somebody presents you with, trying to see God in that other person was something that I think really, really helped me in terms of my journey, my confirmation journey. But then more recently now, some of the young people may be familiar with this, the pastoral cycle, using that process of seeing a situation, judging the situation or reflecting on that situation in light of the gospel and what Jesus has said and what we're called to do, and then acting is something that I think, you know, that, you know, kind of that confirmation, what the whole sort of journey really has helped me to think about. So, you know, that would be that. And then I think you Father Simon, you've already touched on one of the big areas of my work is around supporting groups, parishes, schools in the environment, and this sense of, you know, how do we start with, in the training that we do, and, you know, schools would be more than welcome to invite us to come and do this training, Care for Creation training, which is an Archdiocese programme, which starts with awe and wonder, as you mentioned there. And that's where we really start. We start rooted in what's amazing around us, you know. So that's really, it's really been an important part in grounding my work and how I start. So yeah.
I think it's like, well, I think it's like, you know, the action bit, I think it's like really important. Like you've said a few times, or sometimes you've got to just do something, you know. And one of the great things about working with young people in this job, and, you know, when I'm sure you've seen it yourself, is there's loads of energy and enthusiasm around a lot, maybe not all, young people, and they see something and they do want to make the world a better place, and sometimes, sadly, as you get a bit older, that dynamism can be lost a little bit. You seem to still have it. I mean, I think I lost it somewhere. But you know, as a general rule, sometimes you get a bit older, you know, maybe you become a bit more conservative with a small c in some, you know, in some ways that you've got your life around you, and in a sense you leave it to other people to maybe change the world around you, and it is like quite often young people, you know, who kind of see something and say, well, actually there's change I want to see afoot in the world. You see it in school, you see it with the environment, and maybe you know, naturally, through a natural process, as you maybe get a bit older, you don't, you're not saying you don't care, but you just, that dynamism to do the action maybe lessens a little bit. So I think that would be, you know, I think that idea of all those different things spoke about in schools and all the things that you've been involved in as well, I think that's where confirmation can help, like young people watching this, because I'm sure everyone that's watching this, everyone who's going to be confirmed this year, it's about 2,000 of them or so across the diocese, I imagine all of them will have like one thing that they really, really care about, because like they're young and they're like, oh, this is so unfair, I don't know why is this going on, I want to change that, I want to be involved in that. And maybe confirmation is like the thing, the catalyst for the action. You know, it's maybe like that final words of mass or a prayer, like say, you know, go in peace, go and proclaim the gospel of the Lord. You know, go and do it. Don't just say I'm going to do it. That could be like the thing for these young people to take on board a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because confirmation, as it is at the moment, you know, maybe unlike slightly unlike the two of you, you know, is as much. You know, it is about that really standing up, isn't it, and putting, you know, presenting yourself as I did in front of a community and saying, look, I'm up for this. Yeah. You know, I want to be confirmed. I want to take the next step, and it is a step that will lead you into other areas that maybe you're not entirely sure of. Yeah. But I think, you know, being part of the wider community and getting that support, including with, you know, of different ages, is really important. So when I've done the workshops, there is a real value in having people of different ages, you know, different voices. Because we all have a different thing to bring to what we're talking about.
So I know we had a conversation briefly, and I don't know, I mean, I'm going to put this out in the public domain now, but I don't know if it's going to happen, but we spoke about, you know, maybe younger people being involved in like the environment working party or something like that. So it is, you know, so the diocese, like, so this area around like the northwest that we live in, you know, like Liverpool, Lancashire area, so this the church in this area, is interested in the voice of young people, and maybe confirmation is like that point where you go, well, I'm not just going to sit on my hands and not be involved. You know, I might see something in a newsletter, a school newsletter, and you know, like, right, I've seen that talk on YouTube, I've heard about that, and it seems interested in me, so I'm gonna do something about that.
And I think I'd encourage anybody, you know, who's listening through the chaplain to get in touch with me. I'd be more than happy to, you know, come and support any group, or I can certainly put you in touch with other organisations or however. But something that's beginning to definitely emerge, you know, like flowers in the spring. You know, it's definitely something that you know, the chaplains that we're working more with. So yeah, definitely.
Well, again, I think that leads us nicely onto this one.
Well, yeah, I was also going to say how we've introduced the session, how we've got the 4 different like aspects, and like that one for action, like Pablo said as well, is like how we're able to use what we've been given to go out there, and like the ultimate one at the end of like after you've been confirmed, it's not just to stop, it's just not to end there, it is to use it to go out into like the world and use our confirmation out and the gifts we've been given for the best we can possibly, like the best individuals we can possibly be. But I think that does lead really nicely into our one of our questions, is how are young people able to get involved with the different things in like the church, the Archdiocese. You said you can get involved with yourself, but how are they able to get involved and like the different things and put their faith into action as well?
Yeah, well, I think there's a few things out there. You know, we're really blessed to have such great chaplains in schools, so there is certainly a good starting point. But Faith in Action Award is something that goes on, and that's definitely a way in which people can get involved. But even things, you know, that maybe you might think aren't so much connected with faith directly, the Duke of Edinburgh Awards or the Scouts or things like that, where there isn't often opportunities to go and do some social action work or something positive for the community. So there are those kinds of things. Whatever you're doing, it's about, I guess, looking at what you're doing through your faith, and as I said, using that see, judge, act. What is it that I'm seeing? What I'm asked to help with? How is that relevant, or how is my faith guiding me in that action? So definitely things like faith in action. Then there's all of the work that CAFOD are doing. There's various different campaigns that are coming on for those who are interested in politics. And there's the election coming up, and it's how do we help people decide what the key issues are that they should be questioning politicians on. So I'm sure there may be schools that will be doing stuff around the forthcoming elections. So the Live Simply Award is again something that schools can get involved in. So that would definitely be something that I'd advise people to get involved in. And then inviting speakers in, getting people to come in and talk about how they can do that. There's also Justice and Peace, the commission and the groups that go on in some parishes. So that would be something to really look at how you can connect. And I know sometimes it's a bit difficult in secondary schools, your life in the parish with the work of the school, and can we get better conversations between those two groups to take back to like you said, the church is desperate to have some of that energy and some. So is there any way that we can take some of that back into the parish and enliven the parish and support them in whatever? You'd be amazed actually how much they are already doing. The parish, they might look like a load of old people, all grey haired, but they're doing some fantastic things, from supporting the homeless through to environmental action and so on.
I think just a last minute warning or so, to wrap up in a few minutes. So Pablo might want to just have a few closing comments or anything, but also if anyone did want to have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll ask Pablo. But just to give you a bit of time to do that, we did really want to focus on this action thing. I think what you said then is really is important. Sometimes, and I probably would have thought this myself maybe when I was in year 8. I went to church every Sunday. My mum and dad, so I was practising Catholic. But church was for me just like the building I went to on a Sunday. And if someone said, "What is the church?" I would have pointed to Sacred Heart, surely. And I went, "Well, it's an hour on a Sunday." And there's nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely fine, I would say. Anyway, that's a good way. That's fine. You're living your faith out. That's you're getting the sacraments. That's absolutely great. But there might be people watching this, and I imagine there are people watching this, because I don't think the world has changed that much. That's maybe what they think the church is, and maybe someone's watching this even, and maybe mum or dad or grandma or granddad or someone at home has said, "Right, you're getting confirmed, I'm signing you up," and they're going, "Oh, I don't know, this isn't my cup of tea, it's just a building, it's the old priest, I don't know what's going on there." But I think what we wanted to try and really show is faith is about action as well. There is a lot to be said for going to the church on a Sunday, contemplating, reflecting. That's absolutely fantastic. It should be a part of our faith. It definitely should be a part of our faith. But it's not the only part of our faith. If we just think of the church as a building of stone, then we're missing the point. It's when you leave the building of stone and you take the church out into the world. That's where the action bit comes in. I think that's what Pablo's demonstrated through his life, that confirmation is a bit later on, but he's always had that faith there to take what he's got, his gifts, out into the world. And maybe, if you're watching this at home, that's maybe something I can do. Confirmation is going to help me do that. So, thanks, Pablo, for demonstrating that. Do we have any questions, Lauren?
No, we don't.
Oh,
I think I was just obviously, I'm in the back, but I was listening to the whole conversation, and I think there is a really nice thing, isn't there, of the fact of confirmation continuing your journey. And I imagine it a bit like a hike. And if you went hiking, you need your water and you need your snack to kind of get the job done, to be able to do it. And I think that's what confirmation can have for the young people. It's the idea of, you're on your life journey, but actually every so often you need a bit of nourishment. And actually that's kind of, to me, what the gifts of the Holy Spirit can do, and actually actively going out and putting that into action. So I don't know, I thought I'd just do a quick summary for you. Just for everyone watching.
Just to prove you have been listening. Well, just before we did close, is there any final comments from you, Pablo? Anything you might want to say to anyone, or anything you might?
Just to say, the first thing is just, we're blessed. It's fantastic that you've chosen, to carry on with your faith journey. And confirmation is something that you're taking seriously, because that in itself is an important step. And who knows where that will take you, and I'm sure if my life's anything to go, through tough times and good times, it will take you to some amazing places. And as you said, the church is amazing in that sense, is that you can meet so many people across so many different countries. Lourdes would be one thing to, as I'm sure talking here, you guys, wonderful experiences. The church has got such opportunities to meet such people. So yeah, I wish everybody the best, and hope to see you at some point.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm sure Pamela wouldn't mind if someone spoke to the chaplain of someone at school and thought something. I'm sure the chaplain can get Pablo's details very easily from So it might have been the last time you see. This is who he is. He's told you what he does. I think it sounds it's great. It's a great thing for the church in this area to have. So let's hope that and pray that maybe people watching this might be involved sooner rather than later in the work that you do. And thanks to Pablo for coming over to help us think a little bit more about how we can put our faith into action. Confirmation helps us to do that. So thanks very much for watching. Thanks to Pablo once again. We are back next Monday at the same time with 2 different guests. And we might see you then. As this has been about confirmation though, and about how faith can take us forward, perhaps just important and right that we do end maybe with a quick prayer. I'll just say a glory be to the Father. If you're watching this at home, then perhaps you can just join us in praying for yourselves who are about to be confirmed, maybe the people that are walking alongside you on that journey, your family members, the catechists, priests and the bishops as well who will confirm you. Pray for those gifts of the Holy Spirit to be outpoured upon all those involved in the sacrament of confirmation this year, so that it will truly be a joyful reception of that sacrament. So we just say, glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
So thanks very much, everyone. Thank you, and we shall hopefully see you next week. Thank you.